And in some way they also got the support of municipality. So it's the first city that is having, much higher wages than others. And in the same report there was a wonderful, kind of comparison saying for the workers of Walmart, that they should start demanding, the bigger payments. Walmart last year had like $27 billion profit, and so the article I was reading was calculating, okay, if Walmart would decide to just have 17 billion of profit and give those 10 billion to the 1 million worker, every worker would give will get $10,000 per year plus, which is an amazing sum for a poor worker, not much of a loss for a big corporation. So, actually rethinking the value of work, rethinking the profit, rethinking property will all be, I guess, the next battles going on, not only on the streets, but primarily with the help of the workers.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Is it related?
Yes, yes.
It's
one, really 10 seconds. This $27 billion, would it be better and morally more justified if Walmart donates it to a very poor people in Africa?
No, but did you read Dambisa Mojo from the World Bank who showed how aid is killing Africa? I'm completely against aid in Africa.
So you are you prefer aid to people who already make $7–8 an hour than to people who make 10 cents a day? It is aid if it's above market wage. It is aid.
No, but you can change market
it's charity. If it's above market wage, it's charity. So you would prefer to make people making $8 an hour, you give them 10 or 15, instead of sending that money to Africa. Not all aid is waste.
No, this is a sort of...
Buy mosquito nets.
Listen, this is a sort of moral blackmail, because I would claim if you give, as Renata said, I would do the same as Renata said, because in this way you are empowering the workers of United States. On the other hand, if you just give the money to Africa, what will happen there? Read Dambisa Mojo, Dead Aid, from the World Bank, your guy,
I read all of them, and...
you know what she's showing? All the aid that is coming to Africa ends up in the hands of corrupted politicians and so on, and you don't empower the people.
It's funny that you're quoting a free market economy.
Yeah, I did already before from the World Bank.
Alright, but how about we give it to Jeffrey Sachs, who simply buys mosquito nets? Doesn't give money to corrupt politicians.
I wouldn't give to Jeffrey Sachs even a mosquito.
Mosquito nets? Malaria vaccines?
Only a mosquito.
Save lives. Buy malaria vaccines. How is giving money to already in the world framework rich American workers? How is that morally preferable to giving to helping literally dying poor people?
I'll study every time questions. Sorry.
All right, thank you. Una, lastly your question, and we are more or less closing down.
I was going to talk mostly about China. I guess I can address that throughout the next panel.
It's your panel, yes.
Yeah, I had just a couple of other comments about the crisis of democracy in Europe, and especially the rise of the far right, which was mentioned here a bit more yesterday. I mean, but in the context of this panel, it's interesting to me that there is it's only on the margins this argument that the rise of the far-right parties is also an answer to the new liberal politics, especially in post-communist countries. If you look at the platforms of these far-right movements, they're all rooted in seeking kind of equality, welfare, and all that. And here I think Srećko has a point that this is now the moment for organizing leftist parties, because essentially what are they doing? The far-right is borrowing ideas from the left, and hence the appeal to the masses who are otherwise not essentially racist or xenophobic or all that. That goes also to the populism of Viktor Orban. If you see his measures, they are greatly anti-neoliberal, and his rhetoric is greatly against big capital, because he has figured out that there is certain awareness among the population that this model does not really function, so he's now trying to use it towards populist goals. So that's one point. Another point was, if we take, for Slaviša, let's say regulation causes bad things. What I got from your discussion is that regulation is always the product of experts, cognitive elite, as you said, politicians, But especially in the US, I would say, with the lobbying system, which is legal, and a great part of the system which is not really visible, a lot of the regulation is formulated to serve the business interest. I mean, the banks and politicians are in bed. And it's pretty much stating the obvious. What else? Again, other points were Fukuyama. I guess Fukuyama knows about the Skopje Forum, so yesterday he published a new piece. It was regarding another anniversary, the 25 years of Tiananmen Square, and in which he again revised some of his points, but said at the end of the history stands democracy. Again, some points that I would rather argue in the next panel, not taking too much time. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Can I ask you to answer, Professor Mitchev, in terms of whether there's a possibility for constructing a new institutionalized and politically active left? I mean, I want to hear your realistic perspective on that. Not that we don't need to think in normative terms. Of course, we need alternatives. But from a realistic perspective, what will your experience say about it?
It's a very large issue.
Also related to the situation in Bulgaria.
Left and right is a division line in one dimension. Now we have more dimensions. We are having a left which is so inert and conservative in Europe that it does not make sense anymore. We are having, in my country in particular, the biggest party naming itself left is the party of the oligarchy, because it emerges from the old system. So the short answer would be the sociological function of the left is to provide alternative to the status quo. What kind of alternatives do we have, and how we can actually formulate them politically? This is the issue of the left. I see tagged as left so many things which have nothing to do with alternative, which are disguised all myths and all delusions. I don't think that at present we can actually speak about functional left, at least in Europe. I think that the first thing to do is to try to figure out what kind of alternatives the status quo might have. Alternatives for the future, not for the past.
All right, thank you. Zdravko?
Well, I would hate not to be missed out for the second time, so I want to say shortly what I wanted to say. I wanted to compare neoliberalism with its relation to the state as an adolescent with a father figure complex. As a normal adolescent, he wants to be left aside from the father to do things by its own. But whenever he has a problem, he needs the father to help him. And when the father is helping him, he is complaining against he being authoritarian and messing with him and so on. This is this analogy I needed for the question: what is the neoliberal state? Is it weak or it is strong? The ideology of free market says that the neoliberal state is weak, but we have many examples where you have neoliberal states which are very strong. For example, the typical example is Pinochet, Chile. It is a weak state. It was neoliberal state, but it was quite authoritarian. And you have many examples of this. A liberal state is a strong-willed state. It is a state which imposes deregulation and everything that it is in favor of capital. So if you need to liberalize market, it will leave the market on its own, but it will leave it as long as the market is producing good results from the viewpoint of the capitalist. Yeah, okay. Okay, I will.
Rafa, I'm really sorry, but Nejo will kill me here. You know? I mean, there's a great if you combine the notion of empire with the notion of the state of exception, there's an answer of how the neoliberal state is behaving. Like take Negri and Agamben and combine them both, and there's a theoretical answer. So I'm really sorry, I have to close down the debate. We could have talked for the whole day, because there's another panel right next to us, after us, and I want to thank everybody, to the public, but and also to the participants to the debate. I truly enjoyed it, and I hope everybody shares my thoughts and my impressions as well. Thank you very much.